I gave you a task.
Yes,
Go
you
to
did.
Mummy 2. Look through our 10,000 plus titles to find a movie, a single movie that we could both watch ahead of time. We'll watch it and then come on here and do a spoiler-free review.
Okay, let's do it.
You picked the film from 2017 called...
Flora.
Why'd you pick Flora?
I don't know. It piqued my interest. I liked that it was a Canadian movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I haven't seen too much Canadian cinema, so I wanted to branch out a little bit.
It was a great pick. It was something that I was very intrigued to watch. I remember seeing the banner on Mummy 2, and I just hadn't had a chance to watch it. So I'm glad that I got to watch it fresh
Yes.
for this with you. What was your first impression of after you watching the film?
First impression was there were definitely more layers than I had anticipated. I wasn't sure what I was getting into per se, because at first I thought maybe it's a period piece. Maybe it's like a 1920s, just coming of age or something. I wasn't quite sure. The movie poster definitely gives you a little hint that there's something more sinister going on. But I was pleasantly surprised. It was definitely a slow build. I had to wait until the end to kind of realize how bad things were for these characters if they didn't escape their reality that they were in.
Yep.
But overall, I really liked it. And I did a little bit of research afterwards and found out that it was a pretty small budget for the film. I think the director only had $100,000 to achieve that. And it's quite the impressive feat considering that budget. I was really impressed.
Absolutely. I think, and we'll keep this as spoiler free as we can. That's the hardest part about this is you want to talk about all the movie and it's like, got to keep it so people can go watch it. Just give them just enough to intrigue them, right? I felt like knowing that budget, the $100,000, and you look at it, it actually kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
There were really only the 6 characters, 7 if you count the professor that we do see, and the location must have been pretty inexpensive because they were in the middle of nowhere.
Right,
So,
it's the wilderness.
yeah, they weren't paying for permits or anything like that. So, and they're in Canada. I mean, Canada has a lot of wilderness. So,
That's true.
very smart about the location. And the cinematography I felt was really, really good. It does give me a touch of like the sound at the beginning. I was like, what is off? And I was like, oh, it's from 2017. Not that that's that long ago, but definitely the sound has gotten a little bit better since then. And that being an indie film, they probably were limited on their options. So, and being that it was outside too, so they did as good as they could. I felt like, but that was just one thing I picked up on at the very beginning. The sound was like, oh, like this is from 2017. It's not brand new.
Isn't it crazy how much technology has improved in just a couple of years? I mean, considering that there's technologies that are coming out every single day that we don't even realize will become such a big part of our lives, it's hard to keep up. But some movies definitely do hold the test of time.
For sure.
Yeah.
And obviously those are, mostly are larger budget films and
right,
have
for
sound
sure.
studio, like sound stages and stuff like that. So be able to get this type of a look and to get this type of a feel with it literally being filmed outdoors the entire time.
Right.
They did an incredible job. The one thing I wanted to ask you about was the pacing, because you brought it up a little bit, which I'm glad you did. Being a little bit of a slower buildup, did that bother you at all? Like, did it hinder you from wanting to continue watching the film?
I don't think it hindered me from wanting to continue watching the film because I anticipated that there would be more revealed as time went on. What did surprise me was the pacing felt a lot longer than being just a 90-minute movie. And so when you watch a 90-minute movie, it's so short that you feel like it flies by like that. And then watching this film, it was much more slow paced to where I was like, wow, I could see that perhaps they were trying to fill the time and make the movie longer. Mm-hmm. That's another caveat to indie filmmaking, right? Is that you're learning storytelling, you're learning the pace. So there were longer scenes of, the characters talking or the characters doing something that felt a little bit long, but I could see they're trying to fill up the time, make this a feature-length film, right?
Yep.
So I'd be interested to see if they did a recut of that in today's, scenario, what it would feel like and what would be different. How the director would do it differently.
And sometimes it's the editor's choice, right? Like with what they have. Like
that's true.
And being that on an indie set, like you only have so many days to film it too. So sometimes it's only you have what you have because you might have only done 1 or maybe 2 takes instead of getting the chance to do 15 to 20 takes sometimes when you really, really, really need to nail a scene. So that can be sometimes a limitation on the budget, because a lot of the budget that goes towards like making these is actually like crafty, like feeding everyone the whole
Right,
entire time, right?
literally.
So to make sure you squeeze everything in, you got to be really, really diligent on your time and have a really good assistant director to keep you on pace. So sometimes you just have to be like, okay, that take was good enough. Let's move on, and
Right.
so then you try to fix it in editing, but in the post, and it's just, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think it worked well for me. And I think only because there was a mystery that was created by the ominous tones and the music that they chose to do with the score. They chose it in a way that kind of kept me on my toes a little bit. And I was trying to like do multiple things while I was watching. Like I was doing the this or that segment, trying to figure out, I kind of do everything at one time. I was so drawn to the screen
Hmm.
because of the sound.
Right. You're like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
It's getting dramatic.
And I was like, okay, what's happening next? I gotta watch. And so it's just, I feel like they did a really good job with that. They did decide to use a non-traditional villain though. And so we
Yeah.
won't say what it is, but it kind of is implied in the banner. So it's like in the poster, right? What were your
Yes.
thoughts on using that? Because that's something I hadn't seen before.
I thought it was interesting that the movie largely plays off of these characters being young botanists and
Mhm.
scientists who are looking at things from a very objective lens, right? Like this is something that's happening in their environment and they're trying to figure it down to a science,
Mhm.
right? So it makes it less supernatural. Whereas when you get towards the end of the movie, it feels a little bit more supernatural. Like there's something bigger at play that they can't boil down to just fact. And so that was what really piqued my interest. And I almost wish that they had brought that in sooner, to where I was like, oh, there's something that they can explain here that is happening in this forest, in this
Mhm.
environment. And so towards the end, you'll see kind of like these little glimpses of that. And I wish that they had done that sooner because it made it scarier, right? Because I was like, wait, this is actually creeping me
Yep.
out now, right? I was like, it's not just, the trees and the plants and stuff around them, aren't good. It's like there's something crazy happening in
Yeah.
this forest.
Like
And
imagine
so
going camping there. Like,
yeah, and I wish that they had brought that in sooner because I think the audience would have really been spooked by that. And
mhm.
that's where that element of suspense came in for me, where I was like, what's happening? And so that's what I was kind of wanting a little bit more of. But I like the choice of, instead of, oh, there's these kids in the wood who are running away from, some kind of serial killer or
Yep.
some kind of scary animal or alien, like it was more, I think, insidious than that. And so I really liked that.
Yeah. Bringing up aliens, even though there is no spoiler, there's no alien in this one.
Well,
Uh,
maybe we don't know for sure what it could be. No, there's no like big alien with like
yeah.
scales or anything, it's not like a creature, but there's definitely something at play that we don't know exactly what it is.
Mhm.
But it's different than other films where, you see them running from like some big scary monster.
Yep.
So I liked that. It was left a little bit up to the viewer to interpret.
For sure. The mix of sci-fi though is what I was getting to with aliens. The mix of sci-fi with more of like a historical drama, because it is a period piece. I mean, you can tell when they just bring out they bring out the old turntable. I can't remember what they called them in the past.
Oh, like
The what are those called? The big tuba looking thing. It's a turntable, but
the record player, the old record
was it? That's what I'm looking for.
gramophone.
Gramophone. So he brings out the gramophone at the very beginning. You're like, oh, damn, that's not a
Yeah,
that's
and
not
they
a-
have like the
that's not a
antique
J-
car.
that's not a
and-
JBL speaker. So
Yeah.
yeah. So they bring that out, but again, mixing sci-fi with historical drama, it's very difficult to do. But do you feel like they pulled it off? Did it work for you?
I thought it was cool. I liked that they chose that time period because it's giving you context that these characters can't just pick up the phone. They can't just send out a tweet or, text their friends, say, hey, come get us. There's something wrong. I understand why they chose the period that they
Yeah.
did because it meant they were very limited with technology. Even transportation was a struggle, right? They have the vintage car that appears in the beginning, but that can only go so far.
Mhm.
They have trains that they're trying to connect with to see if they can like seek help for their situation and meet up with a train that only comes every couple of days or weeks or months or
Yeah,
however long
2
it
weeks.
is.
Yeah.
And so that makes it more suspenseful because you're like, wow, they're really stranded here and they have to go physically looking for a way out. There's no cell towers. There's no even radio or something. They were struggling
Yeah.
to connect with the outside world. And
I mean, there was a part where they were doing like the SOS, like doing
exactly like Morse code,
Yep.
right? And they're very limited to how they can interact with the outside world. Also, they're trying to figure it out on like a physical map, which is way before our times.
Yeah.
I think I've only used a physical map to get directions once, and that was with my dad. He had a map in his car. I was trying to get to a friend's house. My phone died, and I was like, how are we going to get there? So my dad pulls out a map, and I was like, this is not of my generation.
I was a MapQuest kid, so
MapQuest.
printing out all the
I
papers.
remember MapQuest.
Yeah.
But a physical map, that takes you right into that time period of like, this group of young people is in a different era.
For sure. Last but not least, the performances. Was there a single performance, like a person or a character that you really gelled with, or like who kind of stood out to you as far as the characters? It's okay if you don't remember their names because that's kind of hard.
I liked all of the characters' performances. I liked all of the actors' performances as each character. I think they created a nice plethora of different personalities, right? So you have sort of the more ambitious and driven characters who are really trying to get out of there. You have the characters who are trying to understand the situation, are more pragmatic about it. And then you have people who are just like freaking out. They've lost all hope. They're starting to panic. So everybody did a good job at playing their character. Not to give any spoilers, but there is like a main character who is in the whole movie. And I think I connected well with that character because, being a young woman, obviously she's facing certain barriers of, let's say, leadership, right? Is this something that she can do? Is this a position that she feels like will be respected and understood as a young woman? And of course, I always relate to that. And I feel like young women watching can relate to that struggle. Also, the other female character who was a nurse reveals that her parents didn't want her to become a doctor and they didn't believe that she was capable of that. So I would say I resonated with the two female leads because while they're trying to figure out the situation, they're also trying to unpack their roles as young women and sort of take upon themselves those leadership positions to help their friends. And I really respect that because sometimes it's a lot more complicated and they reflected that.
Yeah, for sure. I think with the whole cast, and I mean, everyone did an incredible job. I think the one thing that I go to is like, I haven't seen these people, right? Like I think only one of them, which is the main, the female lead that you're talking about that you love so much. She's the only one that has like additional credits beyond like this film. Like for the most part, like her star meter is a little higher than everyone else's. But like,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really understand IMDb star meter thing.
It's weird. It's like a mixture of like movies they've been in, how
popular those movies are.
Well, how popular the movie is, but then somehow that movie could be more popular because it had someone starring in it that also went on to do something else. So it like pulls it up, and then like interviews or additional roles. But at the same time, if you're in a film that doesn't do well, then it pulls you down. And then if you're in a short or a TV show that just kind of sometimes tanks or something,
that's pretty cutthroat.
It is, yeah. So it's a really interesting, the star meter on IMDb is like very strange to kind of understand. But like I even have my own, which is just weird.
I'm going to create an IMDb and I'm going to put the Momi 2 More For Me and You podcast. My star meter is going to through the roof.
Oh, yeah. We need to add that on there. I think I put host of it. I'm not even sure. But any Momi 2 related thing, I'm usually quoted in it. So then I start seeing like, I'm like, cool, I'm at like 1.8 million. It's like so high. But,
that's awesome.
I think I have like 2 credits to my name as like when I was a child actor, when I was in like my dad's movies.
Yeah.
So,
but it makes you wonder if these actors that were in the film, like who were they to the director? Who were they to everybody?
Yeah.
It's just like your friends, you get your friends together to do a movie.
I think what it was, and this is the vibe that I got, and please tell me if I'm wrong on this. I feel like these were like theater kids. Like it felt like the actors, most of them, maybe not all of them, most of them were more so like theater based actors.
Nice.
They're not saying Broadway. I mean, kind of Broadway-ish, but not musical.
But like on stage actors.
Not like musical, but yeah, on stage actors. Yeah, not musical Broadway, but like a on stage actor. Like I got that vibe especially from like the first guy that dies, like the younger,
Oh yeah.
the yappy one. Like I
Yes.
feel like he gave off those theater school vibes. And so I think that's probably where they came from. And maybe there's just like a Canadian theater school like that they
We
all
need
kind
to
of
go find it.
I want to find more. I think I love these actors. I think they did this film justice, and I think that they could do more. Maybe there's just not as many opportunities in Canada as there are down here. So
I almost like that though, because it goes to show that filmmaking is not about popularity, it's not about money, it's about passion and storytelling.
mhm.
It's about creativity and having an outlet to tell a story that you've always had in your mind or that you've dreamt up. And it's very communal. You get your friends, you get your family together to help you sort of birth this vision. And I love it when people appear in movies or are acting or something and it's so altruistic, right? It's like,
Mhm.
yes, we're going to create this project together. Doesn't matter if it ever gets seen or if we ever become famous from it. So I almost like that. It feels like a rare sighting to see folks and then you never see them again in another movie. And it's like,
Yeah,
I like that you saw this opportunity and you took it.
yeah. We actually in Sierra's episode we had the kind of the similar thing with Standing Up for Sunny, and that film has this guy from New Zealand that is just incredible, and he hasn't been in anything else. Like you look at his page, that's the only film he's been in, and he's so good.
Maybe it was just like a bucket list thing. Maybe he was like, okay, acting.
It could have been.
What else am I going to do?
It could have been, but he was so good. I was like, I want to see him more. So yeah, that's a lot of what Momi 2 is about, is giving those opportunities for filmmakers and actors that are kind of under the radar. We have some fun blockbusters that we bring over from like internationally that we bring in, but like a lot of our focus is independent filmmakers and the underserved content, the underserved, filmmaker, actor, producers, whatever, that are hopefully getting their next step. And so I'm glad that you said that, because that's literally a lot of what our passion behind the scenes of growing this platform to make sure that people know we're here to support them in their journey.
Those are the best projects. They're the passion
Yep.
projects that have a lot of heart behind it.
Yeah.
And if your heart is in the right place, it's bound to succeed. You know what I mean? No matter what it is. So I'm glad to see indie filmmaking and indie podcasts,
Yep.
indie platforms are getting the love that they deserve, because I really think indie creativity and filmmaking is the future.
Thanks for spending your time with us today on the More For Me and You podcast. If you've made it to the end, we appreciate you. Now, go do us a quick favor. Please like, comment, and share this episode. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode with the incredible guests we have coming up. You can also follow us at Momi2 Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. Oh, and for your next movie night, check out the Momi2 app. It's free and packed with amazing movies and shows you've probably never seen. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in the pod.